Rail.
And as was noted, my name is Michelle Mayfield from Hartman, Valeriano, McGovern, and Lutz. We're the solicitor to the zoning hearing board, and with me to my right is Matthew Fessler, also from our office. The zoning officer present? Seeing none. Okay. Technicon Enterprises, Inc. is the zoning...
I'm sorry, can you please speak up?
Sure.
There's a little bit of an echo in here.
Do these work? Oh, these are lights.
Those are lights.
Okay, I thought we had to speak. Anyway, okay, yes.
Used to.
Okay.
Don't anymore.
Okay. Technicon Enterprises, Inc. is the zoning officer for Honeybrook Township. This is the place and time designated by notice to consider the application of Brandy Wine Supply, care of Isaac Fisher, for variance from sections 27-1702.a and 27-1703.a (6) of the Honeybrook Township zoning ordinance as amended to allow continuation of the retail use on the property with a proposal to construct a new storage building, increasing the impervious coverage on the property to higher than previously granted in the 2018 zoning hearing board decision. The property at issue is owned by Isaac Fisher and Fannie F. Fisher and is located at 1063 Compass Road in Honeybrook Township with the tax parcel identification number of 22-6-52 located in the Agricultural A zoning district. Is there anyone present who wishes to be recognized as a party to this proceeding other than the applicant? Party status will give you the right to call witnesses and to appeal the decision of the zoning hearing board. In addition to the applicant, the township will be recognized as a party. Is there anyone here who wishes party status?
My name is Russell Janet, Live 775 White School Road. And I'm a landowner, and I have a proximity distance to the property of 1 mile. In a previous special exception hearing in January, it was okay for me to become a party based on that proximity. But I will have to tell you that I will not be affected by this application, and so therefore I do not want to be a party to the hearing, but I would like to be able the possibility to speak before closing.
Yes, we'll give you the opportunity to have a comment.
Thank you.
Do you have any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. Anyone who does seek to offer evidence regarding this matter will be required to come forward and be sworn before testifying before the board. Applicant granted the zoning hearing board a 30-day extension of time until July 31st, 2026 for the zoning hearing board to conduct this hearing via a letter dated April 17, 2026. Applicant withdrew their appeal of the termination of the zoning officer by letter dated July 1st, 2026. The solid issues this evening are the variances. Public notice of this hearing was duly advertised in the Daily Local, a newspaper of general circulation for Honeybrook Township, on June 29th and July 6th, 2026. Adjoining property owners were notified by mail of this hearing on June 29th, 2026. The property was posted with notice of this hearing by Ted Nelson, zoning officer for the township, on July 9th, 2026. At this time, the board offers the following exhibits into evidence. The application of Brandy Wine Supply, care of Isaac S. Fisher, for the variances. Board Exhibit 2, notice of the hearing. Board Exhibit 3, proof of publication of notice in the Daily Local. Board Exhibit 4, affidavit of service by mail. Board Exhibit 5, affidavit of posting of the property. Board Exhibit 6, letter of the Board of Supervisors of Honeybrook Township dated July 10th, taking a position regarding this application against the variance requested for the impervious coverage and taking the position to support the variance to allow the use of the property as a principal retail lumber yard to continue in addition to the existing agricultural residential use at the current extent of impervious coverage. Board Exhibit 7, letter of the applicant dated April 17, 2026, granting the zoning hearing board an extension of time for the zoning hearing. Board Exhibit 8, letter of the applicant dated July 1st, 2026, withdrawing the appeals of the determination of the zoning officer. and Board Exhibit 9, the Huntingburg Township zoning ordinance as amended. Are there any objections of admission of Board Exhibits 1 through 9?
No objection.
So Board Exhibits 1 through 9 are admitted into evidence. At this time, I will turn it over to the applicant and ask them to enter their appearance.
Thank you. My name is Attorney Gretchen Stearns. I'm here on behalf of Brandywine Building Supply. I have two witnesses this evening, Mr. Fisher, the owner of the property and the owner of Brandywine Building Supply, as well as Heath Mockemer, who is the project engineer.
I'm sorry, and who?
Heath Mockemer, M-A...
M-A-C-H-A-M-E-R. Need the first name?
Yes.
That was Heath, H-E-A-T-H.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to proceed with Mr. Fisher and have him sworn in. Should we stay seated here, or would you like us up at the podium?
Podium. Mr. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now being heard will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I affirm.
Thank you. Can you state your name for the record?
Isaac Fisher,
Can you spell that?
I-S-A-A-C-F-I-S-H-E-R.
Thank you.
Mr. Fisher, will you state your address for the record?
It's 1063 Compass Road, Huntingburg.
Are you the owner of that property? And that is the property we are here about tonight. You reside at 1063 Compass Road as well?
Yes.
And you operate a business there currently? Correct?
You need to verbally
Yes.
answer.
How long have you been operating a business at this location?
Since, forget when we got our rural occupation permit, probably 2004, something like that.
Okay. And when you started around 2004, what was the nature of your business?
We were building storage sheds at that point.
And did there come a time where your business changed?
Yes.
Okay, and how was that?
Well, the storage shed business morphed into a deck building business, which was there until 2021. In the meantime, it grew into a deck building business, and we were selling a lot of building materials. So in 2021, we split it. No, in 16, we split the businesses. We're operating two businesses under one roof until 21, at which point the deck business moved out.
And so what was left since 2021?
The lumberyard.
And is it still operating as a lumberyard today?
Yes.
During the time that there's been some of these changes and you've added some buildings, we'll get into details about it, have you obtained various permits and approvals from the township over the years?
Yes.
And could you describe the nature of your use currently?
So we are a retail lumberyard. In other words, we sell lumber to contractors and homeowners alike.
And you have currently any outdoor storage at the facility?
We do.
And with some of the variances we're going to discuss here tonight, would you like to cut down on the amount of things you have stored outside?
It would be nice to have more inside, of course.
And you could move some items inside if these variances were granted?
Potentially, yes.
I have no further questions for Mr. Fisher, but he'll be here to answer questions of the board. Mr. Lochner is going to go over the details of the variance.
Does the board have any questions as to what Mr. Fisher stated?
This time, no.
I have one clarification. As of 2021, it was solely a retail lumber yard.
The deck business moved out, I think it was 2021, yes.
So since 2021, it's only been a lumber yard.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you, just another follow-up, you sell just to retail, just to confirm, retail customers, is that right?
Yes, yeah, we're a retailer, so we sell to contractors and a lot of owners.
Okay.
We can go off the record just a second. If it's easier for you to sit, and we can bend the...
Yeah, I just do it, if I wear out, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Been doing this a long time.
And you want to get those out over there?
Yeah, this is the truck hurry.
If we could stay on records for a moment, part of the application, one is a couple of drawings of current and proposed conditions, so I'd like, if I may hand those out to the board. Also, we're going to cover some information about truck turning, so I'd like to mark that as an additional exhibit. I don't believe I need to mark these drawings as they were part of our application.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Okay. Yeah.
If I can mark, this is applicant's 1. And applicant's 2, it's kind of looking for that. 1 is on top. 1 is on top. Sure, the screen is coming in. I always do
And you said this is a...
No, these are part of the application.
So, anything?
We're ready to proceed.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now being heard will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Could you state your name and your business address for the record?
Yeah, it's Heath Mockimer, owner of H&T Engineering, and the business address is 297 Subert Road in Pine Brook, Pennsylvania.
And I have a few questions for Mr. Mockimer regarding his qualifications, as I would like to qualify him as an expert in civil engineering and land development. Mr. Mockimer, would you tell us about your educational background?
Yeah, the Bachelor of Science of Civil Engineering from Penn State University.
And when was that?
It was December of 1994.
And do you hold any professional licenses?
Yeah, I have a licensed professional engineer in the state of Pennsylvania since 2001.
So about 25 years of experience as a professional engineer?
Correct.
And do you have any experience testifying as a witness in zoning cases such as this in Pennsylvania?
Yes, I do.
Approximately how many times have you done so?
A couple hundred.
And in those experiences, have you previously been qualified as an expert in civil engineering and land development?
Yes, I have.
Unless the board has other questions for Mr. Mockimer on his qualifications, I would ask the board to recognize him as an expert in civil engineering and land development.
Same question.
Motion to qualify him as an expert. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Mockimer, could you explain your role with the Brandywine Building Supply Project?
Yeah, I'm the project engineer for the project for this application and in prior plans for the property.
Okay. And so you have represented them in prior approvals?
That's correct.
Could you expand a little bit on the history that Mr. Fisher shared about the nature of the use and prior permits?
Yeah, the first time we did a plan for Mr. Fisher was in 2015, which that was a grading stormwater erosion control plan.
And what was the nature of the business at that time?
The nature of the business at that time had the home occupation as well as the deck craft business for deck building.
So at that time, it was deck and lumber.
I believe that started shortly after the 2015 plans that we did for Mr. Fisher.
And after the 2015 erosion plans, did you do additional permitting for him?
That's correct.
What was that?
That would have been permit plans in 2018. Mr. Fisher also discussed with us his application to the zoning hearing board. We did not represent at the zoning hearing board, but we had corresponded with Mr. Fisher for that hearing.
And do you know what relief he sought and received in 2018?
I believe the relief was for the impervious area. The ordinance permits 5% in the district, and that request was for up to 9.77, which was shown on the 2018 plan.
And it's your understanding that in 2018, this board at the time granted him permission for 9.77% impervious coverage?
That's correct.
I want to move on to talking about the existing conditions at the property. And as part of the application, did you prepare an existing conditions plan?
Yes, I did.
That would be part of the board exhibit 1. And I believe the board members have it in front. It's labeled existing condition on the bottom right.
Yeah, that's correct. It is.
And tell us a little bit first about the location of this property in Brook. Where is it?
It's at 1063 Compass Road.
And what are some of the surrounding uses?
There's agricultural and residential uses surrounding the property.
What zoning district is it located in?
It's in the agricultural district.
What are some of the current buildings present on the site?
There's an existing dwelling, kind of working on the south side of the property, towards the road is a dwelling. Just above that is a barn and another outbuilding. And then the buildings that actually were part of Deckcraft and the prior shed building were located in behind the barn. So there was an expansion in 2015, looking at the existing conditions plan that has the building units there with a large, on the plan is a grade area that was a stormwater facility that was put in for that expansion.
That gray stormwater area you identified as existing conditions, that is still present there today?
That's correct.
And the residence you identified on the bottom of the drawing, that is where Mr. Fisher lives currently?
That's correct. That's on the south side.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit how the site is accessed and where the customers park?
Yeah, essentially, there's a southern driveway, which is primarily for the residential access, and then the driveway that's north of that is primarily for the commercial access to the building. So there's parking spaces that are adjacent to the existing barn, as well as some parking spaces that are back by the first building unit.
I want to move to the next page that was included in the application, which was labeled Proposed Conditions Plan. Can you tell us on the Proposed Conditions Plan a little bit about what Mr. Fisher would like to add?
Yeah, effectively, Mr. Fisher would like to add an 80 by 100 hoop building. That'd be 8,000 square feet, and that's located north of what is his existing access to the property.
What is a hoop building?
It's an agricultural style building, many times used for storage of materials, equipment, those type of things.
What would the use of the hoop building be?
It would actually be for, their lumber yard for, lumber and products that are sold by the retail business. There are a number of existing outside storage areas, which this would afford Mr. Fisher the ability to reduce that in some degree and have the storage within the building.
And there's some gray areas, gray area just to the bottom left of the new building. What is that?
Yeah, effectively, there's a topsoil stockpile that would be part of the erosion control plan. And then on the upper right, there's kind of an L-shaped hatched area that is intended to be an underground stormwater detention facility.
And is that stormwater detention facility sufficient to handle the stormwater from the additional structure?
Yeah, that's something that the additional impervious of the building would be 8,000 square feet, and then the parking and access around that building is around 22,000 square feet of additional area. So we've actually run calculations to size that based on the township ordinance to make sure that it could be managed in a future land development plan.
How will the addition of this building and the extra coverage area alleviate current site conditions?
Yeah, one of the things, and that really comes down to the truck turning movements that we've actually, it was discussed with the supervisors, and we brought those exhibits along here this evening.
Let's start with applicant's exhibit 1, which is the current truck turning. Can you explain to us, it looks like 3 different scenarios here on the current truck turning of applicant's 1. What's the difference?
Yeah, it's actually in the upper right part of the sheet. That's more of your standard like box truck, contractor truck that comes into the site, so they can access pretty easily, get parking spaces and so forth. And then as you move to the upper left, effectively, we're showing a turning movement of a truck by the barn and then making its way out the driveway. The lower left, if the truck's coming in the site, we're basically showing that they can pull the side of the barn and make the turn kind of over the existing stormwater facility, which is covered with the pavement and so forth, but it's not, the truck has to make several movements to be able to get into those positions for deliveries.
So there's no way on the current site for the truck to just maneuver throughout the site without backing up or a K-turn or something of that nature?
Yeah, that's typically when we try to set up truck turn movements for different facilities. For example, I have a site over, it's actually just in the adjoining township, where we try to get circulation, not only for truck turning, but for example, for emergencies. So if the fire department has to get out, we like to be able to have access around the buildings. So that's something on the other exhibit.
So if we move to applicants 2.
Yeah. We then show basically that we can bring a truck in, and the intent again would be to utilize this hoop barn for more defined storage area to remove some of the outside. It also eliminates the cross traffic between customers and cars and so forth that would be adjacent to the building and parking spots. On that, you see the truck coming in, it then makes a right, circles completely around the hoop barn, and then would be in position to pull right back out the site.
So no backing up for truck deliveries, no K-turns?
Correct.
And you mentioned it, but I just want to be clear. Can you explain how the new design would separate delivery traffic from the customer traffic?
Yeah, essentially, anytime we have a site, for example, if the truck's trying to make a turn or a delivery, they're going to be parked kind of in the way of some of the parking currently. We usually try to separate passenger car traffic, those types of things, from truck traffic. So the new plan actually accomplishes that. As soon as we get in the throat of the driveway, we're able to then remove the truck traffic from inner workings in between the buildings.
With respect to the proposed new building, do you anticipate traffic congestion or traffic increases to be caused by it?
No, essentially, it's really for, kind of defining the storage. So we're not really looking at an increase in traffic, and we're actually looking for a better flow into the site.
So less backups with the addition than current?
Correct.
And not necessarily looking to add customers, just looking to reorganize, or?
Yeah, mostly the intent of Mr. Fisher is to kind of reorganize, to make deliveries easier, to separate the traffic from customers and parking for, again, cars that come in, pickup trucks, contractors with small trucks from the truck traffic portion.
I want to turn to the specific various requests that we heard about tonight. You may have mentioned it earlier, but what zoning district are we in?
It's in the agricultural district.
Okay. And are 100 yards retail establishments allowed by right in that district?
No, not by right.
Also, Are there currently more than one principal use with respect to this site?
Yeah, essentially you have the residential use as well as then the lumberyard use.
And it's the intention with this variance to continue to have both of these uses continuing concurrently on the site?
That's correct.
What specifically are you asking for with respect to the proposed use?
Basically, the proposed use is effectively expanding the impervious coverage. The intent is for the business to continue operating as it has, but we're trying to get an expansion for better flow, traffic, and that would increase the impervious from 9.77 to the 13.43.
In working with Mr. Fisher, both from 2018 through present, are you aware of any issues with the site as far as complaints from customers or neighbors regarding the current use?
I'm not aware of any.
Were you present at the planning commission when this proposed variance to have a lumberyard was discussed?
Yes, it was.
And are you aware of what the planning commission's recommendations are specifically as to allowing use to continue with the residents?
Yeah, I believe there was a poll, 7 votes on it, 5 were supporting, and I believe 2 were neutral.
No one on the planning commission voted against or to oppose letting the business continue?
No, they did not.
And were you present when the supervisors reviewed this application?
Yes.
And same question, what was the recommendation of the supervisors just as to continuing the business?
Just in continuing the business, it was 3 in support.
No one voted against it?
Correct.
I want to move to the second variance. So part one is continue the use, continue the lumberyard while Mr. Fisher lives on site.
Correct.
Now, as to the impervious, what does the ordinance require regarding impervious coverage?
Yeah, in the ag district, it has a limitation of 5%. One of the things that we did, and part of that is I looked at a number of adjoining, not necessarily adjoining, but in the area, Chester County and so forth. And 5% is actually low compared to some of the other ordinances in the area. There's a number of them that are 10%. There's some rare ones that are 15%. I would say 10% is kind of more of a typical norm in ag.
And how large is the site overall?
It's 20 acres, so for an agricultural site, it's actually fairly small, so you bump up to that 5% relatively quickly.
And you mentioned what is the current impervious?
It's 9.77.
And what is proposed on the plan with the hoop barn and related paving and stormwater?
Yeah, that would bring us up to 13.43.
And what is the reason for the increase from 977 to 13.43?
Yeah, effectively, the hoop barn provides storage, but then we wanted to separate the truck traffic and make sure that they could drive around the building. It also, as I mentioned, provides for better fire access and protection on the site. In the sense of the stormwater ordinance, we've already gone to the level of running the numbers, running the model, so we can achieve and exceed the ordinance requirements in the land development plan.
Other than the impervious relief, is there any other dimensional or setback variances that are an issue or that the proposed building does not meet?
No,
Just the impervious?
just the impervious.
Again, with respect to the planning commission meeting you attended, what was the planning commission members' position with respect to increasing impervious from 977 to 13.43 and adding hoop barn?
I believe that was in the same voting pattern. 5 were in support, I think 2 were neutral, no one opposing.
Okay. And how about the supervisors?
That's where they opposed the increase on the impervious.
So to be clear, the supervisors opposed the impervious, but not the use in general?
Correct.
Despite the position of the supervisors, how does the impervious variance and the addition of the additional building improve the situation of the property?
That was discussed at this board of supervisors. Part of what the applicant would love to do is reduce some of the outdoor storage. The ordinance has pretty specific requirements as far as screening. and percentages of outdoor storage. So that's something that, with the improvements that are proposed, we'd be able to eliminate some outside storage, provide better screening.
And what about the safety aspects of adding the impervious and the building compared to current?
It really goes back to separating the truck traffic from the passenger car pickup truck type traffic. It allows for better access to the site. It also allows, in the event of emergency, better ability for the fire department to get on site. I would also add, I guess, in that too, in part of the preparation, we actually had a traffic engineer do a traffic study in anticipation of future land development plan. There was a scoping application in PennDOT, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't have any glaring issues with PennDOT or any kind of traffic study related issues.
And generally, could you explain the results of that traffic study?
The traffic study in general was favorable. It's something that we didn't have any major hurdles from the PennDOT perspective. All that said, we didn't apply for a permit at this time, and we're well aware that as part of the land development, we have to secure PennDOT permitting.
Does the proposed use of the lot and the additional impervious do anything to cause substantial injury to the value of other properties in the area?
No, I don't believe it has, and especially given the amount of time that it has existed.
And there's been a business on that site for more than 20 years, right?
Correct.
Other than the requested impervious variance, the use otherwise complies with the setback and other dimensional requirements?
Yes, it does.
Does the proposed use have any adverse effect on the character of the zoning district?
I don't believe it does.
Does the proposed use have any adverse effects on health, safety to residents or workers in the general neighborhood?
I don't believe it does.
Any negative effect on property values?
No.
Is there anything about the proposed use that will create additional traffic congestion or traffic hazards?
No, I don't believe it will, and like I said, it actually improves it, plus we're acknowledging that we would have permitting through PennDOT and land development ordinance with the township.
Anything about the proposed use that conflicts with the comprehensive plan for the township?
I don't believe it does.
Do you believe the proposed use in the lumberyard and the additional building fit the purpose and intent of the ordinance?
You know, going through the community, there's a number of businesses that, you know, as you're passing through that are, I guess, kind of that rural agricultural type business. So I believe it kind of fits with the intent of the neighborhood, and I don't really see it a direct conflict with the ordinance.
Could you describe the unique circumstances that have existed here leading up to this that justify the granting of these variances?
You know, primarily, I guess one of the things that's unique is effectively, we have an agricultural property, but it is limited in size. It has existing residents that have the rural home occupation, and it's, again, operated in the community for 20 plus years without any real issues from the plan knowledge.
And it's changed the nature of the business over that time?
That's correct.
And will these requested variances allow a reasonable use of the property?
I believe it will.
Okay. And are they the minimum variances which would provide relief to the applicant?
I believe it is.
Thank you, Mr. Hochberg. I have no further questions. More than any questions?
Yeah, on the existing site, the non, like hoop building or whatever, is there going to be any changes done on that area?
To the existing portion of the site, the only changes that we would anticipate is reducing some of the outdoor storage.
Okay.
Yeah.
No more paving or any, no more?
No more pavement on the existing portion.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned future land development. Is there something that would be in the works after this? You were talking about traffic study and a future.
Yeah, effectively, as part of your subdivision land development ordinance, we first have to come before this board because we don't have full compliance with zoning. So that's our first step. We recognize that if the decision is granted, first of all, to continue the use, but then also for the expansion, that we'll have to submit plans to the township. We acknowledge we have to submit plans to PennDOT, and then we also indicate we have to submit to the Conservation District. So there's three main agencies that we'll have to go to. As we would go through planning, if there's other things that arise as part of that, we would certainly meet the requirements of permitting and development.
But that is specifically as to the buildings shown on your proposed plan. There's no indication of doing anything beyond that or more buildings in the future.
No.
Any additional questions? I just have a few clarifications. What would be the ground underneath the hoop building? Will that be stone, pavement?
That area at a minimum will be stabilized gravel, compacted gravel. And that's something that, even if it is compacted gravel and it's not paved, as part of our calculations, we consider it pavement. So in the future, if it would be paved, or if it's required through the land development process to be paved, we've already sized the stormwater facility to accommodate full pavement.
So that was part of the calculation and asking for the increase of impervious coverage?
That's correct.
And did I understand that this will be limited to deliveries, no contractors, no homeowners, nobody else will be permitted in this area?
In the hoop building area? Yeah, effectively, that's for material storage, so it's not a retail part of the establishment.
So there'll be no additional parking around the hoop building or proposed around the hoop building?
Now, essentially, that's again, is for the truck delivery and turning movements, as well as for access around the hoop building.
The trucks come in and leave the same day, there's no stopping, idling, anything like that?
It's just for material delivery, that's correct.
Will there be signage is there proposed signage or is part of the land development plan that that's truck delivery only? No public?
Yeah, we would comply with any signage requirements.
I don't have any further questions. Does the board have any?
Yeah, I have another one. For that hoop building, is it going to be a lot taller than the existing buildings on the site, the existing site?
It would, we don't actually have the details of that, but it would be less than the 35 feet by the ordinance.
And is there going to be any like buffer or anything put on this if it's asked for as part of the planning?
Yeah, there are requirements in the township ordinances for screening, so that's something that, once we review that, we would certainly comply with screening requirements.
Any further questions from the board?
No, I do not.
I would just move for the admission of applicants 1 and 2. And we go for their witnesses or evidence shown.
Any objection to admission of their exhibits?
No.
So applicants 1 and 2 will be admitted. I'm not sure if this is a question for Mr. Fisher or the consultant. Do you believe you've had a fair opportunity to be heard this evening?
I believe we have.
Yes.
And should this board grant you the relief, would you be agreeable to the conditions to complying with all other applicable ordinances and obtaining appropriate permits and approvals?
Yes, we will.
And in accordance with the testimony and evidence presented this evening?
That's correct.
And will continue to apply with any prior conditions, any conditions of the prior zoning hearing board decision that continues to be applicable?
Correct.
And just one follow-up question. I believe you testified, but except for the impervious, this alteration continues to meet all of the applicable bulk regulations in the zoning ordinance for this use and principal, I'm sorry, for 2 principal uses for the
I
house.
believe it does.
You have nothing further?
We do not.
This gentleman, did you have questions or a statement, I think you said?
Yeah, I refuse to comment. Not refuse, but I just don't have anything.
You have no comments this evening?
No comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to make comments on this application before the board? With that, the board has nothing further, and we can recess, close the evidentiary record, and go into executive session.
So that's my hope that the board will come out of that. Education. Keep that out there. Right. I think we can have the rules on that. On a committee.
Everybody ready with the on the record? The board, based on the discussion, has a few follow-up questions, if I could. I think the statement was made that the majority of the exterior storage is going to go into the hoop building. Is it going to be all? Is there a percentage? What's going to remain?
No, it can't all go inside. But we're hoping some of the decking is outside that we would organize inside. We'll alleviate some outside storage, and also for us, for the ease of pulling orders, etc. But it can't all go inside at some point.
Is there a percentage?
I really don't have a percentage in mind on it.
And there was a discussion, because you are moving some things inside, could where some of that storage is occurring become pervious?
There was a discussion actually with the board of supervisors for some of the areas that could be reduced. We could return some of that to pervious, so that, and whatever percentage that would come out to. And I do forget the percentage of outside storage that's permitted, but we would make sure to comply with that, which the areas that we would return and would not use as outside storage that are currently, whatever portion we could return to pervious, the grass types cover.
But that would take out less than 1%. You might get it down, but you're not going to get it down to 10 or 11 or something.
Yeah, it might be on the order for 1%.
So you still would need the relief that you would agree to that as a condition?
Yeah.
Based on my questions, do you have any follow-up questions?
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions? Is the board ready to vote, or would you like to go back to executive session based on those questions?
I would hold the same position.
So, would the board entertain a motion to grant the relief to allow for the impervious coverage to be 13.43% with the condition that it would be reduced based on the removal of exterior storage to the interior to the extent that could be accomplished.
I'll make a motion to agree with that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Would the board entertain a motion to allow the use to continue as a principal retail lumberyard use in addition to the existing agricultural residential use as it currently exist.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh,
With the conditions that they would apply with all testimony this evening, other ordinances, permits, and applications. I believe those were the conditions. And with the understanding that the impervious coverage was granted would be limited, and the board would not look favorable upon a future application.
I'll make a motion to agree. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you. We will issue the written decision in accordance with the municipality's planning code within 45 days of today. You'll have 30 days thereafter to appeal if desired. The attorney will receive a copy, and I presume you'll forward it to your client.
I shall.
And that is everything for, is there a motion to adjourn this hearing?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back, close that one. Mr. Fisher, want to come forward? So as you heard, we had to do some preliminary things, so. Do you need a break, are you good?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Just let me know if you need a break.
I do need 1 second to make the higher. Oh, yeah.
If the board would call the second hearing to order.
I'll make a motion to, start the second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you want to introduce yourself for the record again?
Jeff Emmerger, the chairman on zoning board.
Dave Rogers, vice chairman.
John Rue.
Secretary.
And my name is Michelle Mayfield. I'm the solicitor to the zoning hearing board from Hartman, Villariano, McGovern, and
I'm
Lutz.
sorry, ma'am. What firm are you from?
Hartman, Villariano, McGovern, and Lutz.
We're going to have to spell that at some point.
Okay. And to my right is Matthew Fessler from our office. The zoning officer who is not present this evening is Technicon Enterprises, Inc. This is the place and time designated by notice to consider the application of Amos Fisher for a modification of the original zoning hearing decision 2000-7, which permitted the dry goods store to allow to permit the non-resident operation of the farm support business, to increase the number of non-resident employees, and expand the retail space associated with the use. In the alternative, the applicant seeks a variance from section 27-1702.a to operate a dry goods store as a retail use in the agricultural district as a second principal use on the property. The property at issue is owned by Stephen R. and Levina S. Stolfus and is located at 817 Compass Road, Honeysburg Township, with a tax parcel number of 22-6-41 and is located in the agricultural zoning district. Before we proceed any further, is there anyone present other than the applicant who desires to be recognized as a party to this proceeding? Party status will give you the right to call witnesses and to appeal the decision of the zoning hearing board. The applicant's a party, as is the township, always automatically. Is there anyone here for this hearing who desires to be a party? Seeing none, anyone who seeks to offer evidence regarding this matter will be required to come forward and be sworn before testifying before the board. Applicant granted the zoning hearing board a 30-day extension of time until August 3rd to conduct this hearing via a letter dated June 1st, 2026. Public notice of this hearing was duly advertised in the Daily Local, a newspaper during its general circulation for Honeybrook Township on June 30th and July 6th, 2026. Adjoining property owners were notified by mail of this hearing on June 29th, 2026. The property was posted with notice of this hearing by Ted Nelson, zoning officer for Honeybrook Township on July 9, 2026. At this time, the board offers the following exhibits into evidence. The application of Amos Fisher for the property located at 817 Compass Road for modifications of a prior decision or an alternative variance as Board Exhibit 1. Board Exhibit 2 is notice of the hearing. Board Exhibit 3 is proof of publication of notice in the Daily Local. Board Exhibit 4 is affidavit of service by mail. Board Exhibit 5 is affidavit of posting of the property. Board Exhibit 6 is letter of the applicant dated June 1st, 2026, granting the zoning hearing board an extension of time to conduct the hearing. Board Exhibit 7 is a letter of the Board of Supervisors of Honeybrook Township dated June 11th, 2026, taking a position of support of the requested modification of the original zoning hearing board decision of the farm support business to allow the dry goods store use to continue as originally approved, with changes to allow a person other than the property owner and residents to operate the dry goods store. Condition 2, to allow 4 non-resident employees to operate the dry goods store, and and number 3, to allow an increase in the retail space for the dry goods store by 780 square feet within the existing building footprint into an area previously used for farm-related supplies. And in the event the zoning hearing board denies the modification, the board supported the variance from 27-1702.8. Board Exhibit 8, the prior 2000 decision of the zoning hearing board, and Board Exhibit 9, the Honeybrook Township zoning ordinance as amended. Is there any objections to omission of Board Exhibits 1 through 9? Seeing no objections, those exhibits will be entered into the record. At this time, I would ask the applicant to come forward and present their case. Get the front first, please.
Mr. Hill, do you solemnly swear or affirm in the matter now being heard to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Before we get started, Mr. Fisher, you handed me prior to the beginning of this hearing a letter from Stephen Stolfus authorizing you to speak on his behalf this evening.
Correct.
So we will mark that as applicant 1. Oh, you don't have to, I'll get it later. Mr. Fisher, what would you like the board to, what would you like to present to the board this evening?
Well, I'm not sure what all those exhibits were that you were going through, but it was
The
variances.
Yeah, the first one is, the application's the main one. Everything else is just administrative that we have to do.
You want me to kind of go through how this all came about?
And why you would like to do this, and that you're exploring 2 options. You're asking.
As some of you probably know, we bought a variety store at the beginning of the year.
I'm sorry, but what store?
A variety store. And we had the annual occupation inspection by Ted Nelson. And that is when it was realized that the store owner is no longer relative to the property owner. So now we have to go through this variance to get a new occupation permit to continue operating the store outside the family of the property owner. So that's kind of where we're at. The farm supply is still in operation, which will be going away probably by the end of the year. And we would like to utilize that space where the farm supply currently is. So I think the variances were for the additional space and store equipment outside the property, outside property minimum. Right.
So you asked for 2 in the, 1 and then the alternative a second.
Correct.
And you're aware there was a prior zoning hearing board decision in this matter that allowed the existing use before you took ownership?
2 years ago. The one that was, I was not aware of that.
I'm sorry?
I was not aware of that. Steve was.
Okay. But you have since been made aware of it?
Correct.
So you're asking this board to alter that, some of that relief that was provided by that decision, correct?
Well, the variance that I understand what we need to do is to operate outside of the family member of the property owner.
So to continue to operate as a rural business, you would have to operate, as you're asking for 3 variances. The first is to allow you to operate it rather than the owner.
Correct.
So you do not reside at the property, you're not the owner of the property. Your second, you're asking to allow 4 non-resident employees to operate the dry goods store. Are those members of your family, or are those members of the general public?
That would be outside the family.
So none of the 4 employees will be related to yourself or Mr. Stolkus?
Correct.
And then you're asking to increase the retail space for the dry goods store by 780 square feet.
Correct.
And is that into the area where I think you used the term farm support business currently exists?
Correct. That's where Honeybrook Farm Supply currently is.
And that is going away?
Correct.
What was it? Mr. Honeybrook?
Farm Supply.
Should this board grant you the relief, would you be agreeable as a condition that the farm supply store has to go away within a certain amount of days?
Yeah.
And for the record, what is a dry goods store? What is sold there?
Fabrics, housewares, books, gifts, health supplements.
And I think you said this, but the area you're looking to expand to, that's where the farm supply store is now?
Correct.
So there'd be no increase in the square footage of a business?
Of the building?
Of a business, because you're going to have a different type of business, but in the same size of square footage, is that correct?
Correct.
Because
The area that's used for farm supply will now be turned over and used as the tractor supply.
so you're not increasing the building, you're just...
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
But both the farm supply and the dry goods have been operating there under Stolfus?
Correct.
So you're not increasing the square footage, so do you anticipate any additional parking requirements?
No.
So in the alternative, you're asking for this board to allow this to be a permitted use, or what we call use variance, as well as a second principal use on the property with the existing residential agricultural use. So that would take it out of the dry goods prior decision and give you a new use, and that would remove some of these regulations you're asking relief for. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And if this board would do that, you still would not be the resident owner, correct?
Correct.
Limit 4 employees? And you would still just have 4 employees? And you would comply with any other zoning regulations that would be applicable?
Yes.
And any other applicable conditions from the prior zoning hearing board?
Yes.
Because you are not the owner, because you're not the resident owner of the property, are you any alterations to the driveway or anything like that?
No.
I may have a few more questions, but I'm going to ask the board, do you have any questions at this time?
I have one. With the current, do you have 4 people working, or is there less today?
Not that I know for.
There's 4 today, so there's no increase.
And that's not for every day. There's only 2 per day, me and myself, me and one other employee every day.
So a maximum of 2 employees on site, but a total of 4 non-family employees.
There may be some days where it's 3 employees on site. Well, the owner, myself, and 2 employees.
The farm store, is that going to be going anywhere else, or is that,
Potentially.
farmers need places to buy stuff?
You have 2 guys that live in the apartment.
Yeah.
Similar hours on the dry goods?
Than what it was like prior.
Yeah.
Prior owners. We back down the hours a little bit.
Okay.
Less hours.
What would be your proposed hours?
Currently we have 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 8 to 2 on Saturday. I think they had like 7 to 6.
So if this board would grant the relief, you would agree to those being the hours of operation? Any further questions from the board?
How close do you live to the site now?
We go to the line.
So you're local, very local.
This is what this board has to consider in deciding whether to grant you the variance or not. So this is out of the zoning ordinance. Are there unique physical circumstances or conditions regarding this property?
And further explain that.
Is there a reason why you need to ask for these variances? Why you can't comply with the ordinance? Is there something special about this property?
Well, the house currently is occupied by someone else.
Do you know what the sole fusus plan is for the residents? Is it to go to family members? Would you buy it in the future? What would?
Potentially buy it in the future, but currently they're staying there.
Would you be agreeable to a condition that either the sole fusus or their immediate family, or you have to reside in the dwelling? Or your immediate family?
That could be a possibility.
Or if you agree to that and the board makes this a condition, if you would change that in the future, you'd have to come back to them. So would you be agreeable to that?
Can you run that on me again?
That only the sole fusus or their immediate family, or you or your immediate family would reside on the property?
Oh, yes.
I asked you that you did not create this hardship.
No.
Do you believe this will alter the essential character of the neighborhood?
No.
And is this the minimum variance necessary to allow you to operate the business?
Yes, as far as I know.
Does the board have any further questions? Any conditions you would like to discuss or anything? Do you have anything further you'd like to say to the board? Does anybody here would like to make a statement or make any comment on this application? So
One other comment I'd like to make is we're not allowed, if we can't get a variance to continue operating where we are, we have no place to go with the business because it was existing on that property when we purchased the private business.
if this board would grant either of the reliefs, would you be, and particularly as to allowing this as a use variance, would you allow you to not necessarily be considered a rural enterprise anymore, but more of a farm store? Under the ordinance, would you agree to comply with all applicable regulations of the zoning ordinance? And there's no anticipated increase of parking, impervious coverage, additions outside of the building?
No.
So you would comply with any other regulations in the prior zoning hearing board decision? Applicable. Would the board like to recess and go to executive session?
Yes.
This time, go back on the record. Is there a motion at this time to deny the modifications from the prior zoning hearing board decision?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Is there a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the application for a variance pursuant to section 27-1702.A to allow the retail dry goods store to be a permitted use in the agricultural zoning district as a second principal use on the property with existing resident agricultural use subject to the following conditions. The hours of operation as testified to this evening in accordance with all testimony and evidence presented this evening, that this shall be applicable while the Stoltzfuses or their immediate family, or Mr. Fisher or his immediate family reside at the property, complies with all other applicable regulations for this use and/or the prior zoning hearing board decision as applicable, and obtains all other applicable approvals and permits, and complies with other regulations of the zoning ordinance.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of today, with 30 days to take an appeal after that. So what they think, so you can use it subject to the conditions. You're not going to be tied down to those modifications that you'd asked for. Do you have anything further, any other questions for the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything further for this board this evening?
No. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next meeting, August 10th, is that right?
Yes.